here by random happenstance, or are you here because you are supposed to be here with Alex and me? 50% chance of rain, 50% chance of sun. Today I am choosing to believe in the sun.
Now, while I enjoyed the more intimate character-focused moments that we saw in episode 1 and 2 of the season, I personally found this third episode to feel more like season 1 of Paradise. We check in with various characters, the pacing's moving a little bit faster, there were some major reveals, we got a cliffhanger that really got me excited to see what's going to happen next. We're here breaking down this third episode of season 2 of Paradise. This is an episode that showed us a lot of characters putting on a faked act to get what they need. Now in doing so, we see some familiar faces of those who are both dead and alive, and we finally meet Alex and get a better understanding of Link's past and if things are random or if they are meant to be. With all that being said, we got an episode to break down. Full spoilers ahead. We open this episode with Sinatra, who's still in a coma after taking that shot in the chest from Jane in the season 1 finale. But while her body is still, her mind is racing to trying to figure out how to beat time. As we flash back to the conference where Sam met Dr. Lodge for the first time. Now, over some very expensive drinks, Dr. Lodge breaks down the Venus syndrome. He explained that the global tsunami we saw on the day of the event was just Act 1. He goes over that those who survive, which we have experienced in episodes 1 and 2 of this season with meeting Annie and Link and those kids, but unfortunately, it's not over. There's a part 2 to this catastrophe, which involves the heat that will eventually subside within an atmospheric pressure that will arrive to crush everything left standing. Now, Sam thinks that her billions are the ultimate shield. She knows that living in a bunker for generations isn't the answer, but the doctor assures her that even her money can't buy what is needed to stop the inevitable ending, and that being time itself. There's been no billionaire in the history of the world that can outrun time. Now, this conversation is what really sets the stage for Sinatra's new obsession, and that being a solution that goes by the name of Alex. Now, we flash back to the hospital to find Sinatra finally waking up. Now, this flashback, or in Sinatra's case, this memory sparks her to finally waking up from her coma to get things going again. Now we jump back to the night where Kyle was elected president, and amidst the celebration, Kyle promises that there will be no more red tape that will get in Sinatra's way as she wants to complete the bunker, but Sinatra isn't satisfied with just creating the bunker. Now we see her and Kane discuss a developer who refuses to sell, which leads to the mention of a secret technology that the fate of the world depends on. Now Kane suggests that they get another person involved to help them with their developer problem, this being the true birth of Sinatra's persona, where she finally gets her hands dirty to secure the future. Now back in the present, Sinatra learns that she's been out for a month, which means this is a whole month without being in control. Now in her absence, President Bain has turned their community into a community with police presence and promising stability and strength, which really just means more cops and less freedom. Now we see that the rebellion is still alive though. We see this X symbol being placed on the library doors, a tribute to Xavier's exposure of the truth as we see a person who left that there getting arrested. We see Presley and Jeremy have exchanged secret notes, and we learn that Jeremy's friends have been taken to a secret prison. Their bond has grown, but this letter being the start of him setting his plans in motion for what happens later in this episode. Now we catch up with Robinson as we flash back to the night that she promised to take care of Xavier's kids while he's away on the surface. We see Jane walked in that night to keep her act by telling her story and that Sinatra is still alive. Now we watch as Jane puts on her innocent act and pretends to not know what happened when she shot Sinatra in protecting X, which, speaking of X, he still doesn't suspect her of her wrongdoings. But it's here that we see Robinson starts to question her by calling out why was she there to begin with, and we see Jane makes up some story, but again it's important to note that Robinson was slowly starting to see through her lies. Now this is where X comes up with the plan to take blame for everything that happened before leaving to search for Terry, and he tells Robinson to hold off on fighting back until he returns. Now back in the present day, we get a glimpse into the new dynamics as Robinson keeps her promise by looking after X's kids. Robinson just wants the kids to stay out of trouble, mostly Presley, until their dad returns with their mother. But it's here we see that James is actually helping his sister in communicating with Jeremy. Now we see that Robinson was demoted, basically replacing Jane in her old job, as Jane was looked at as a hero for taking down Sinatra, and she's now the president's main security. We see the new president-elect who has his own act going on as a person who believes that he actually has power, as he assures the billionaires that things are going to get back to normal in the community. He wants to start implementing seasons again, starting with summer, a move that he believes will get the community back on track. But it is here that he learns that this will be a difficult task because Sinatra has her own secret project going on. Now, this project isn't known to anyone in the room, and respect is the last thing Bane will get from anyone in this room, which leads to Anders sharing his mind about the president's plan being a stupid idea because they're already maxing out most of their energy. Now, this level of disrespect gets him arrested, and the president demands that he gets access to the Sinatra secret project as soon as possible. Little does the president know that this demand to look into the Sinatra project will lead to his demise. Meanwhile, a different kind of act is at play at the hospital. We see Sinatra, who's also putting on a good performance as well, in front of her family and others, as she's leaning hard into the Samantha being a vulnerable victim. Speaking of acts, we see Jane paying her a visit as Sinatra tells Jane that she doesn't remember what happened when she got shot, as Jane tells her that it was X that shot her and the whole town knows this. Jane tells her that she did what she did to keep her hands clean, and she also shares that the president wants to speak to her. It's pretty clear that Sinatra believes that pretending right now is her best option, but regaining control is her main objective sooner rather than later. Now, before meeting with the president, we see Gabby greet Sinatra, prepping her for the lie detector test. Now, on a side note, we see James reads the hidden note from Jeremy to his sister, suggesting a meetup before Jeremy leaves for a while. But it's here we see James thinking he's protecting his sister by throwing it away and again prioritizing his sister's safety. Now, in the interrogation, we see Gabby starts with the basic questions first before getting personal by bringing up that she's a mother of two, but one of her kids being deceased, which we see Sinatra confirms. Now, Gabby immediately follows that up by asking if she's siphoning off energy from the bunker, which triggers a very important flashback. It's here we witness the very first meeting between Samantha and Billy, aka the Fixer, this being the person that Kane recommended to handle their developer problem. It's evident in this moment that this is new territory for Samantha, her hiring a hitman to intimidate or threaten or even eliminate someone. Again, you can tell that this doesn't come easy to her at first. Now, sticking with this flashback, we go to Billy on the job to take care of the developer. We see the developer shares with Billy what he does for a living, which is a mouthful. Advanced wave function, superposition, and quantum entanglement. Now, I'm no expert, but looking it up, it seems like entanglement goes hand in hand with another quantum phenomenon known as superposition, which is particles that exist in two different states simultaneously. From what I understand, it's almost like Schrodinger's cat theory. This is where he illustrates a paradox of quantum superposition where a hypothetical cat may be considered both alive and dead at the same time because its fate is linked to a random event that may or may not occur. Now, remember that last part for later because it's very important to understand what Alex might be. Now, the developer feels a lot more comfortable around Billy as he shares with him that he has his business partner who's actually much younger than him and is so great in his field of work, he's super intelligent for his age, as we'll later find out that this partner is no other than Link, who we found out in episode 1 actually went to Caltech to study to be an expert in technology. Now, the developer considered Link as a son to him because, as we'll find out, him and his wife couldn't have kids, as Billy just cuts the act from being a random friendly guy at the bar and he shows him the papers that need his signature, and that being option A, which is the easy way. Now, the developer asks Billy if he believes that things are random or if they happen for a reason. Remember, we discussed this very thing when we talked about the quantum entanglement. The developer plays along and signs after Billy lets him know the other option, which involves the gun in his pocket, which leads him to signing. But after he leaves, Billy realizes he didn't sign his name, but instead he left him with his own home address. Now, we'll come back to this in a bit, but in the meantime, let's hear from the sponsor of today's video, Factor.
Look, I'm going to be honest with you all. I am not a fan of going grocery shopping. It is so time consuming. I have to shop at so many different stores because one store doesn't have the one thing I need. It is just one giant headache for me. So that's where Factor comes in. Whether it's cold days or you have big goals and you have no time to cook, Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs. So eat well without planning or cooking. Look, for me, it's all about convenience and it's all about having options, and that's why I believe Factor is such a perfect fit for my lifestyle. Quality, functional ingredients including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils. Meals that fit your goals and schedule, healthier eating, calorie management, more protein. The variety is so great because you have 100 rotating weekly meals to keep things fresh and delicious throughout the winter. Options include high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, and ready-to-eat salads. Plus, the new Muscle Pro collection supports strength and recovery. And I mean, the convenience alone. It's always fresh, never frozen, ready in about 2 minutes, no prep, no stress. Right now for me, I'm trying to get back on my healthy kick, so having the available proteins and having the vegetables and the whole foods ingredients is just a perfect fit for me. So head over to factormeals.com/moviefiles50 off and use my special code MovieFiles50 off to get 50% off and a free breakfast for 1 year. Again, that's factormeals.com/moviefiles50 off. And again, use my code MovieFiles50 off to get 50% off and free breakfast for an entire year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. Now, this is for new subscribers only and varies by plan, and 1 free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active.
Now, back in the interrogation, Sinatra voiced the question at first, but eventually says that she hasn't been taking any power from the bunker, and the lie detector says that she's telling the truth. Baines throws a temper tantrum, letting her know that he's boss now, and Sinatra plays along by agreeing that he's in charge, but then she says something very important.
That man needs a breath mint.
And we see Jane smiles because she knows exactly what that means for someone in her line of work. Now, as the president is leaving, we see Robinson gets to see Jane in action again. We watch as Jane strokes the president's ego by letting him know he did a great job in interrogating Sinatra. Now, this compliment leads Bain to telling Jane that she's smart and he values her opinion, and this being all a part of her being on his good side. Now, you'll notice during that exchange that Robinson looks at Jane as if she is watching a person get into someone's head, and that this whole innocent act is all for show. Now, Robinson decides to go to do some digging on Jane, and she finds Jane's mostly redacted CIA file. Now, her big takeaway is that in 2016, Jane was actually kicked out of the CIA for assaulting a senior officer. Now, this sends Robinson down a rabbit hole into Billy's coroner report, where she finds Jane's statement claiming Billy felt like he had nothing to live for, which doesn't add up considering how we know he felt about X and his kids. Now, Robinson goes to Billy's house and she finds an engagement ring. Billy was going to propose to her. He had his future planned out, which again contradicts Jane's statement. Now, the tension peaks when Robinson gets the message that Jane is currently alone with the president on a jog, as she's now officially terrified of what Jane might do. Meanwhile, back at Sinatra's house, we see Gabby drops by, and you notice that she's also another character who is putting on an act and is pretending to be someone that she isn't. These two have so much history, and for a second, they feel like they're old friends again, just having a good time. As Gabby tells a story about her father selling a car that he spent years trying to fix. Her point being that some things just aren't worth fixing anymore. Basically, she's done with Sinatra. But before leaving, we see Gabby leaves her with an old picture of them for Sinatra to keep. Now, back at the Collins' house, we see James tells his sister about the note that Jeremy left her about meeting up with him for one last time for a while, as we see that she heads off to meet him. Now, she arrives to the location, but unfortunately it's too late as Jeremy purposefully gets arrested as a part of his plan. Again, another character pretending to be something, as we see that this was all a part of his plan to go to the secret prison to talk to Anders, who he saw get arrested at the start of this episode. Now, going back to the Billy flashback here. It's the next morning where Billy goes to the address and he's prepared to follow through with the other option, which involves his gun. Billy goes inside and meets the developer's wife, who happens to have Huntington's disease, which is an inherent disorder that causes nerve cells and parts of the brain to gradually break down and die. Stick with me here for a bit. There has to be a connection between Alex, who we'll discuss here next, Terry, Link, and Annie. Finding out that Alex had Huntington disease and knowing that Annie's mom struggled with mental health and Terry is a scientist in the field of studying cells and DNA. Now, granted, Terry isn't a doctor, but I do wonder if Terry and the developer ever crossed paths and maybe trying to figure out a way to cure his wife. I just have this feeling that whatever we're dealing with this season regarding this mystery technology, it has to do with health and cells and quantum physics, as well as Link and Annie and Terry. I think they'll all be key players into wherever's going on with this Alex project. Now, knowing that his time to die is near, we watch as the developer shares his wife's outlook on life and how positive she was. Now, unfortunately, he ends up ending his wife's life and putting her to rest, and it's here that we find out that her name is Alex. Now, we know Alex was the name that Link mentioned that needed to be killed back in episode 1. But we just saw Alex die, so what did he mean by we need to kill Alex? Well, I don't think that he was referring to the Alex that we just saw die. I believe Alex is probably an acronym, or it's the name that's being used for the mystery technology that Sinatra wanted from the developer and now has in the bunker. And if you all remember in episode 1, Link said to Annie that there was something very dangerous that no one knows about in the bunker, again, that being the Alex technology. Now, before Billy does what he came here to do, we see the developer brings up again and says to Billy if he thinks things are random. Now, the developer hands Billy a tissue and he tells him to please not to harm the boy that's about to arrive and to let him go because, like Sam said earlier in the episode, the fate of the world depends on this promise. Now, Billy eventually shoots him in the head, and we watch as he leaves the room. He runs into this boy, and it is Link as his nose starts to bleed. Billy tells him to leave, and he tells him to run away as far as he can, and he tells him that this is the luckiest day of his life. That is a lot to take in, and not a lot of time to discuss all of the theories that's going on in my head right now, but I'll stick with this. Time, happenstance, are things planned or random or predetermined? Can you be in two places at one time? Can you be dead and alive at the same time? Whatever we're dealing with involves the element of science fiction, and I'm beyond excited to see where this goes. Now, I do want to mention that it appears that when you are near Link, he causes your nose to bleed. We saw X nose bleed in episode 2 when he was in a plane, so I'm wondering if X was in the air, did he maybe pass by Link and that's what caused his nose to bleed? And more importantly, why is it that your nose bleeds when you're around Link? Does he have some type of technology that was implemented in him that causes neurological issues with your brain and causes you to nosebleed? Is Link a human being or is he something else entirely? Which makes me wonder, that baby in Annie's stomach, is that a human baby or some type of AI generated cyber child? Again, science fiction seems to be the route that we're headed. Now, as we come to the end of this episode, we see Billy informing Sam that the job is done, and this being the start of their relationship. Sam wants to know what is needed if she needs his services again, and he tells her that all she needs is a name and a photo and to say these very words, which is they need a breath mint, which is what Samantha said in the interrogation room to Jane, who was also in that room. Which, speaking of, back with Jane and the president on his jog, we watch as she takes care of him by cutting his throat and killing for Sinatra and following her orders. She marks his back with his own blood and leaves an X, which is known in the community as a symbol for those that are ex-believers, but now it will be seen as a symbol for yet another president's death. Robinson arrives to find the body as Jane sneaks up behind her and chokes her out and sets up Robinson as the killer of the president. As we go down these various floors of the bunker all the way to a lower level to find the secret prison where Jeremy will be now staying. Jeremy walks up to the creator behind the bunker, Anders, and tells him that he will help him blow the doors wide open. Now, a couple things I want to point out in this last moment here. One is this particular shot of this level. I wonder if this is where that secret technology known as Alex is. Another thing I want to point out is on the back of Jeremy's prison outfit. You all will notice this is the exact same flower symbol from Kane's bookmark. It's the same flower signal that the gardeners wore on their outfits in season 1. It's the same flower signal that the construction workers wore who built the bunker. Do you all see a pattern here? This symbol is clearly important and to me is a symbol of a secret society that Kane and Sinatra are a part of, and I believe we're going to learn more about them hopefully later in the season. Now, speaking of that secret society, we end with Sinatra talking to her housemaid by the name of Carmen. Hate to sound like a broken record, but yet again, another character pretending to be someone that they're not. We learn that Carmen is more than a housemaid. She's aware of the secret project and is a part of this secret unknown group as Sinatra drops the act of Samantha. They talk about Alex and the power problem being resolved, aka killing Baines. Alex doesn't have any messages nor an estimate for Sinatra because it's unpredictable, but she's getting closer. As we see, Gabby planted a microphone in the photograph she left with Samantha as she listens to this very conversation. Now, that last part about having an estimate, going back to advanced wave function superposition and quantum entanglement, is this technology, Alex, some quantum device that can predict time or maybe slow it down or possibly manipulate time? Now, after watching all 3 episodes on this premiere night, this third episode felt more like season 1 in a sense of its tone, its pacing, switching from different characters and different plots, unlike the first 2 episodes of this season. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciated the more character intimate moments, getting to know Annie and her past, meeting Link, and obviously X interacting with the kids. Those to me are undoubtedly very important for the rest of this season. But again, this episode to me is what felt like Paradise. This is the stuff I love about Paradise. The twists, the turns, the reveals, it all is going to come together eventually. But again, I think it was smart on Hulu's part to release all of these episodes at once because they tell their own separate story, but of course they're going to collide eventually. So right now we know that Link is key and he holds the answers to the fate of the world, as does this Alex technology. Now, how does Terry fit into all this? I believe she may have contributed to creating Alex at some point, but the question is, at what capacity? Now, the question is, was Alex invented for good, for bad, or indifferent? I guess it depends on whose hands it's in. With all that being said, this will conclude my breakdown of episode 3 of season 2 of Paradise. If you all have made it to this point in the breakdown, and if you've watched or listened to my other previous breakdowns so far, I want to send you all a special thank you for the support. Do me a favor, put in the comments right now, #Alex. Thank you all for watching or listening to this breakdown of episode 3 of season 2 of Paradise. Now listen, I did this in season 2 of Severance, one of my favorite shows last year, and I will be happy to do it again for this show. What I mean is, I like to do these separate theory videos after each episode, and what I do with those theory videos is, I read you all's comments, your theories, your predictions, I answer potential questions. Now, if you all would like me to do that for Paradise season 2, let me know in the comments, and also let me know by liking the video, sharing the video, and hyping up the video. I love this show. I love this series, and I want to talk about it, but I need to know if you all want to talk about it with me. Let me know in the comment section below. Now, again, if you all enjoyed my breakdown of not only episode 3, but also episode 1 and 2, and you're excited for my coverage of the season, like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hype the breakdown up. I would appreciate the support. Now, for those that are listening to this via podcast, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, thank you all for listening. Please share your thoughts on this episode, as well as the 3 episodes as a total. What do you all hope to see in the weeks ahead? But also, follow the podcast, leave a rating and review. I would greatly appreciate it. I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which again is Factor. You can find that information in the description of this breakdown. Don't forget, you all are awesome. Stay safe. I'm excited that Paradise is back, and I'll see you all again soon.